Hello everyone, today we are talking about the worst mistakes that you can make for fat loss and the science behind why these mistakes are hindering your progress. I've been coaching clients for years now, and these are some of the biggest things that I have seen the most benefit in switching up to make a big difference. But first, 2 videos ago, one of you got very sad that there was no Cleo content, so here's your Cleo content for the video. Hi, say hi to the internet. She's just very much enjoying her box. And really quick, I just want to say that the first round of my Reverse Dieting 101 course is going so well. I have seen such amazing results so far in the students that are in the course, and I could not be more excited. And so I wanted to let you guys know officially that I do plan on relaunching the course in January. So if you weren't able to participate in this first round of Reverse Dieting 101, you have another opportunity. And then also in January, I will be releasing a comprehensive, holistic, and healthy fat loss course. So for everyone who has reverse dieted and now wants to lose fat in a healthy, sustainable way, or if your metabolism is already really healthy and you're in a good place to start losing fat, you will be able to sign up for that course in January as well. And I am so excited about this. I am currently running a tiny little survey just to get your guys' input and feedback and thoughts on fat loss as a whole, so that I can make sure the course really addresses what you guys need for the course. So if you want to participate in the survey just to have your voice be heard, I will be reading all the responses. I'll leave a link to that down in the description box below. I'd really appreciate it if you would take a second to fill it out. The more information that I have from you guys about what you want, the better I can create a course to be what you want and need. So that said, let's dive into the first big mistake that I see so frequently in people that are trying to lose weight and not seeing progress. And that is eating too much. And I know this sounds obvious, but this is the place to start. I get a lot of DMs from people and a lot of clients coming to me saying, Marissa, I'm super on point, super on track 4 to 5 days of the week. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm being this precise for this amount of time. It's not working. What's up? But here's the thing. If you're super on point 4 to 5 days of the week, that means you're not super on point 30% of the time. And if you're trying to be in a 20% calorie deficit, good luck. And those untracked cheat days, or just untracked days, or not on point days, can really add up. Let's say your current maintenance calories are 2,500 calories. And so you're trying to average 2,000 calories a day to be in a 500 calorie deficit a day, which would put you in a total of 3,500 calorie deficit for the week. And you hit 2,000 calories perfectly Monday through Thursday, but on Friday you go out with some friends and you try to stay on track and you're being pretty good, but then you have a couple nibbles of some fries, maybe you have a drink or two, you end up having some dessert, and all of a sudden you've eaten 3,000 calories without even realizing it. And then Saturday you have an actual cheat day because you've been good all week and end up eating 3,700 calories. And now for the week, you've averaged 2,400 calories a day. This puts you in a small 100 calorie deficit, which is so small that your body can easily adapt to that by just down-regulating meat a little bit, and so you're not really gonna end up in a deficit at all. And here's the thing, even if you're like, Marissa, that's not me, I don't have cheat days, I'm really consistent every day. According to the research, most people do severely underestimate their calorie intake, even when they think they're being really accurate. For example, a 2006 study conducted by Cornell University investigated whether meal size had an impact on the accuracy of calorie estimations. They had people estimate the amount of calories in various size meals, and they found that the bigger the meal, the less accurate people were. Participants estimated the number of calories in smaller meals almost perfectly, but as the meals got larger, they underestimated the calories by about 38%. 38% is a lot when you're trying to be in a 20% calorie deficit. That's almost double the deficit that you're trying to be in. Another study looked at the accuracy of calorie reporting in over 11,000 adult participants. Researchers found that up to 31% of participants underreported their caloric intake. Interestingly, they also found that women were more likely to underreport than men. And there's a lot of reasons someone may underreport their calorie intake, even if they think they're doing it accurately. The first one is shame or guilt. When you go to plug in a number into MyFitnessPal and you're like, oh, did that look more like half of a cup of rice or a third of a cup of rice? And because of the ingrained shame and guilt that we have around food, we lean more towards the number that feels better, which is usually the smaller number. Also, weighing and measuring every single little thing can be perceived as a lot of effort, and so it can be very tempting to just kind of eyeball things and approximate and plug a number in and hope that it's right. But if you're eyeballing and estimating, you're not going to be very accurate. And then another reason is simply not remembering or not being aware of everything that you've eaten. So for example, if you're sitting in front of the TV and kind of mindlessly eating, you may, go grab a snack and grab another snack and grab another snack and then log that all afterwards and forget one of the little snacks that you grabbed along the way. Or if you go into a restaurant and they don't have the nutrition information available, you might be completely unaware of certain things that are thrown in your food, like a tablespoon of butter or something else that's been thrown in there that you can't actually visually see but is adding an extra 100 to 200 calories. On the flip side, the other huge mistake that I see all the time, and is one of the big reasons I created Reverse Dieting 101, is that people tend to fall into the eat less, move more trap, or just generally eating too little. Diet culture has ingrained in us that the less you eat, the better. But in reality, the less you eat, the slower your metabolism gets, which over time makes it harder and harder to lose weight and keep it off. This is precisely why so many diets fail. Here's the thing, 80% of people who go on a diet regain the weight within a year or less. 95% of people who go on a diet regain the weight within 5 years or less. Since the body's main goal is to keep you in homeostasis, the less you eat, the more your body is going to downregulate energy expenditure so that you burn less, so that it matches how much you're actually eating. So if you eat less, your body naturally burns less. So the calories inside of the equation affects the calories outside of the equation substantially. And it does this in numerous ways. The body can downregulate energy expenditure by having the organs consume less energy. It makes your heart beat slower. Hormones that influence metabolism and appetite are adversely affected. You burn fewer calories from meat. The thermic effect of food is reduced. Muscle tissue becomes more efficient and requires less fuel. Basically, the body has a lot of different ways of decreasing the calories outside of the equation in response to a decrease in the calories inside of the equation. Big note here, I'm not saying that calorie deficits don't work. You do have to be in a calorie deficit in order to lose weight, but you have to be very smart and intentional about the calorie deficit and how you implement it if you want long-term results to be in that 5% of people that actually keep the weight off after 5 years. But for the sake of learning and understanding, let's dive into the science behind how some of these mechanisms of calorie expenditure downregulation work. So as you eat less, the activity of your sympathetic nervous system decreases, and this leads to things like a decrease in heart rate, which is going to overall decrease calorie expenditure. Your sympathetic nervous system does a lot. A 2015 study published in the Journal of Diabetics Research investigated the connection between the sympathetic nervous system and the metabolism. The authors of the study found that the sympathetic nervous system is fundamental in controlling daily energy expenditure and regulating your resting metabolic rate. This study also found that the central nervous system responds to physiological stimuli such as changes in food intake and carbohydrate consumption. The sympathetic nervous system also plays a key role in activating critical physiological processes such as insulin release, lipolysis, which is the breakdown of fat, and the storage and breakdown of glucose. This is why it's critical to make sure you're avoiding any behaviors like severe or prolonged calorie restriction that would slow down or inhibit these processes from happening. There's also plenty of research to show us how hormones that can influence the metabolism, such as thyroid hormone, testosterone, leptin, ghrelin, etc., can be negatively impacted by a calorie deficit. A 2006 study from the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism compared serum T3 levels between two groups. One group restricted their calories by 37% compared to the other. And the study found that the calorie-restricted group's serum T3 concentration was 30% lower than the group that did not restrict calories. And this is bad because low T3 can signal hypothyroidism, which can very severely negatively impact your metabolic rate. And then we have even more research to show us how a decrease in calorie intake can lead to a major downregulation in non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT, so things like fidgeting or calories expended doing household chores or like walking to your car, stuff like that. Many studies and reviews conclude that a decrease in energy intake leads to a decrease in energy expenditure through a downregulation of NEAT, making it harder to lose weight and keep it off. This 2006 study observed groups of participants over the course of 6 months. Researchers found that the group who had been on a calorie-restricted diet had a total daily energy expenditure that was significantly lower than the group who had not been restricting calories, thus indicating a metabolic adaptation to calorie restriction. I can literally just go on and on for hours with science of how calorie restriction leads to a downregulation in metabolic rate, but hopefully you get the picture. But the point is, a prolonged and or severe calorie deficit will cause your metabolism to slow down, thus making it harder to lose weight and keep it off. You may lose a ton of weight at first and reach your goal and everything seems amazing, but inevitably you regain the weight because in that process of dieting, you've slowed your metabolism. So when you go back to eating your normal amount of calories, you're now in a calorie surplus and you regain all the weight, usually even more than the first time. So what do we do about this? Like I said, calorie deficits do still work, you just have to be smart about it. It's about finding balance. So I recommend starting with a smaller, much more manageable, sustainable calorie deficit, like 10 to 15%. You need like mama bear size deficits, not papa bear or baby bear size deficits. Then you're also gonna wanna implement diet breaks, and I go into the details and science of all of that in a completely different video. So I will just leave a link to that down below if you wanna learn more. So the first two mistakes were all about quantity, but the third mistake is that people often only consider quantity and not quality. Because here's the thing. It's very controversial. 1 calorie is not equal to 1 calorie. Before I make a lot of people angry, just give me a second to explain. You often hear a calorie is a calorie in the context that 1 calorie of a Pop-Tart is equal to 1 calorie of broccoli. And this is objectively true. A calorie is simply a unit of energy. So if you put 100 calories of Pop-Tarts and 100 calories of broccoli on plates, they are equal in the sense that they contain the same amount of stored energy. But where this statement, a calorie is a calorie, becomes false is in the context of actually eating these calories. Outside the body, all calories are equal. But once you put these foods into your body, into this complex biological system, different foods will process differently, regardless of calories. Different foods go through different metabolic processes that can have vastly different effects on hunger and hormones that regulate your metabolic rate. Think of it this way. A pound of steel is the same weight as a pound of feathers. But say that you have 50 pounds of steel in the shape of a sphere and then 50 pounds of feathers just like in a pile. It's a lot of feathers. They're equal weight, but if you had to move them from one side of the room to the other, the steel is gonna be a lot easier to move because you just gotta push it because it's a sphere, it's just gonna roll. The feathers, you're gonna have to just like go back and forth carrying handfuls of feathers and put in a lot more effort to move the same amount of weight. So in this way, 50 pounds of steel is equal to 50 pounds of feathers until you have to move it. The weight is equal, but the effort that you have to put in is unequal. The same is true for different foods of equal calorie content once you put them in your body. There are many factors at play when it comes to how many calories we actually absorb from any given food. Some factors include how the food is prepared, your gut microbiome health, the micronutrient density of the food, and the food's impact on your hormones. When it comes to the micronutrient density of the food and how the food is prepared, in a 2010 study, people who ate either 600 or 800 calorie portions of whole wheat bread with sunflower seeds, kernels of grain, and cheddar cheese expended twice as much energy to digest that food as did individuals who consumed the same calorie quantity of white bread with processed cheese product. The more processed a food is, the more net calories you're going to absorb from that food. Now let's look at how food quality can impact insulin. A 2021 study by Ludwig et al. In the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition examined the effects of the carbohydrate insulin model on the metabolism. Researchers found that consuming a large amount of highly processed carbs kicks off a carbohydrate insulin reaction that changes how the metabolism drives fat storage. This reaction simultaneously increases insulin and suppresses a hormone called glucagon, which is used to break down glycogen. This starts a chain reaction that sends a message to fat cells in the body to store more calories. The carbohydrate insulin model is outlined in this diagram, which demonstrates how an increased insulin to glucagon ratio, as well as high glycemic diet, can contribute to weight gain and obesity. The next mistake that I think affects the most number of people the most drastically is making things all or nothing. You make a plan, and the second you go slightly off track, everything goes out the window. You go to a birthday party and you have a slice of cake, turns into an entire cake, tub of ice cream, maybe some cookies later. Screw it, you're not doing what you're trying to do anymore. Everything is out the window. But the slice of cake could have just been a slice of cake. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It really truly is about finding sustainable balance. And here's a really important and helpful thing, in my opinion, to know, is that it's your average calorie intake week to week that matters, not nearly as much the day-to-day intake. And I do have a whole spreadsheet tool thing that you can download to calculate your average macros for the week so that you can aim for weekly averages rather than specific day-to-day numbers. So I'll leave a link to that video down in the description box below if you want to learn more about how to actually implement this. A review published in 2020 examined multiple studies on intermittent versus continuous calorie restriction and concluded that the two methods of dieting had similar outcomes for fat loss and body weight. Another review looked at 11 trials with durations ranging from 8 to 24 weeks and surveyed their outcomes in terms of effect of intermittent versus continuous calorie restriction on measures like BMI, waist circumference, fat mass, and insulin resistance. And the combined analysis of the 11 trials revealed that there was no significant benefit to continuous calorie restriction. The participants in the intermittent group lost 5.2% to 12.9% of their initial weight, while the continuous group lost 4.3% to 12.1%. So this shows that day to day, the numbers don't really matter. It is the averages week to week. And so if you're trying to eat 2,000 calories a day to be in a deficit, and one day you eat 2,500 calories and one day you eat 1,500 calories, it's the same as if you just ate 2,000 calories. And aiming for macro averages just gives you so much more flexibility, builds in so much more sustainability, and this is something that I use with pretty much all of my clients. I just give them my macro averager spreadsheet and have them track averages rather than trying to be super precise every single day, because unless like you have a very routine schedule and it's just easier to be precise every day, it tends to be easier to just track on averages, because then, you know, if you go out one day you can have a little bit more, if you're less hungry one day you can take advantage of that and eat a little bit less and average it all out. And this takes off so much of the pressure of being all or nothing, because if you mess up one day by having a slice of cake, then you can just average it out over the course of the rest of the week. And when you start using the averager, you'll see how little of a difference those things can actually make when you do average everything out. The all or nothing mentality really only serves to fuel unsustainable restriction. And because that restriction is inherently unsustainable, whatever you do to get to where you get to, you're gonna regain all the weight back because it was unsustainable in the first place. And the next mistake is somewhat related, and that is ignoring the mindset component. Understanding what I just described about aiming for macro averages rather than needing to be precise every single day can be so transformative in letting go of food guilt, and food guilt in itself can actually make weight loss harder and less sustainable. Like literally just the feeling of food guilt decreases the efficacy of diets. A 2013 study examined whether a default association of either guilt or celebration related to a typical fear food correlated to any differences in perceived behavior control or any significant changes in weight. What they found was that participants who associated a fear food, in this case chocolate cake, with guilt reported lower long-term levels of perceived behavior control and had trouble maintaining their weight over a period of 18 months. On the other hand, participants who associated chocolate cake with celebration demonstrated greater success in losing weight. Both groups in this study strayed from their diet by eating a slice of chocolate cake. Yet it was only the group that had negative associations with that ended up suffering long-term consequences. The group who just shrugged it off and maintained a positive mindset on it saw long-term success. And this is why reverse dieting can be such a powerful tool in shifting your mindset around food. Because if you have to eat 1,200 calories a day to like maintain weight or lose weight, and you eat an extra 100 calories, that's proportionally a lot bigger than if you could maintain weight on 2,000 calories, 2,500 calories. When you're aiming for 2,500 calories for weight loss, being off by 100 calories doesn't feel nearly as significant, and so it's a lot easier to let go of those feelings of food guilt and restriction. And there is plenty of other evidence to suggest that mindset plays a huge role when it comes to weight loss and post-weight loss weight maintenance. I could make an entire other video about that. Comment down below if you are interested in me going into this in more detail, but I'll just highlight one more review for now. There was a 2019 review that synthesized recent literature on detriments of weight loss maintenance, and they examined 51 different psychological factors and found that having high physical self-worth, as well as an individual's belief in their ability to execute the necessary behaviors for weight loss, was found to be positively predictive of weight loss maintenance. So basically, the more you believe in yourself and the more you love yourself, the easier it's going to be to lose weight and keep it off. So trying to like plow ahead with the best diet may not always be what's best for you, because if in trying to execute that perfect diet, you end up feeling food guilt or thinking that you're going to fail or just not, loving yourself or believing in yourself, then the chance of that actually succeeding are much lower than if you found an almost perfect diet that was a lot more sustainable for you and that actually made you feel good. And that's it. Those are some of the absolute biggest and most impactful mistakes that I see people making all the time, whether they come in through my DMs, comment on my YouTube videos, apply to work with me, etc. These things make some of the biggest impacts on people's fat loss journeys. So I just want to take a second to highlight them to hopefully help you guys out if you are struggling with weight loss or weight maintenance. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, or if you have any requests for videos like this, I'm more than happy to take a look at those. Leave those in the comments as well. While you're down there, make sure to hit the link to take the survey for the fat loss course, which will go into all of this and a lot more, and more specifically how to actually execute the solutions to all of these things. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. It really does support me and my channel. I really do appreciate it. Please share this video with your friends and your family. If you want to see more videos from me all about health and fitness, you can check them out over here. To see future videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the little notification bell so you get notified when I post a video, and I will see you very soon. Bye.